Welcome back to On the Record from Arrow's Net at Work Partner Forum. I'm sitting here with Sean Kerins, who's the president of Arrow ECS for North America. Sean, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Good pleasure. I'm going to get right into it. You've talked a bit about your evolution, the evolution of Arrow, and in particular, and moreover, just the whole evolution of distributors overall, or where it's going to happen to be. And you call yours the one Arrow approach. What do you mean by that, and why is that so important?
Well, as you may have heard me mention earlier, Robert, we are trying to continue to evolve our definition of value. And over the years, as you've seen distribution evolve, distribution has changed the ways in which they deliver value to their partners, and in turn, their partners deliver value to their customers. So when I talk about one Arrow, we're talking about a more consistent look and feel in the way that which we represent us to the broader channel marketplace, irrespective of supplier alignment and the supplier technologies that we carry on our line card. So when it comes to standard marketing programs and tools, order processing systems, the ways in which we go to market and cover our account relationships, we're looking to do that more and more consistently across the different lines of business, regardless of whether we're talking about Oracle, IBM, HP, or a NetApp, for example.
So a lot of people, say, let's go back a year or so, a lot of VARs were really worried about that they wouldn't have a job because of this, the whole cloud thing and the managed services, and then you add SaaS into it and HaaS into it and tasks and any AAS and anything, any letter before it, there's something for it.
Yes, there is.
And then all the distributors started talking, or people started talking about all the distributors, that there won't be a need for them and there won't be a need for the VARs. Are the VARs and the distributors going away? Are you brushing up your resume and worried about that?
Well, no, I'm not, Robert. Of course, we always worry about things like that, but I think the concerns about the uptake of the cloud and what that means for distribution and the channel in general are probably somewhat exaggerated. We view the cloud as an opportunity to offer services to our channel partners so that they can leverage them on behalf of their existing customers and hopefully some new ones. So as an aggregator for these kinds of offerings, whether it's about infrastructure, software, platform, or something else, as you point out, there are a number of acronyms today that define them. But as an aggregator of those services, we think we can offer a richer line card to our channel partners than we would if we ignored them. So most partners really don't have the time or the wherewithal to manage the variety of managed services providers that exist in the marketplace. We can do that for them. And if we can essentially white label or co-brand those offerings on their behalf, we're giving them better content for them to take to their customers and solve their problems, especially those that are more focused on OpEx in favor of CapEx.
Yeah, and if you look at it, all the way through, when you've been looking at distribution, like when you came in, for example, distributors started all of a sudden saying, okay, we're going to provide financing, right? The word around was, well, why do we need them to? It's just they're adding another layer, but obviously it's become a huge part. Can you imagine what would happen to the industry if all of a sudden distribution overall just said, hey, we're not going to offer financing anymore? The industry would die.
Absolutely. We consider that table stakes, and we've taken our value prop well beyond that.
And even if you go right back to the very beginning of your pick, pack, ship, I know you hate those words, don't say them, but the reality is that there are companies out there that do nothing but pick, pack, ship.
That's right.
And so why hasn't the whole industry outsourced it? And it's because of your knowledge of the VARs and the whole industry and all the relationships and how you put them all together. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I would agree with that. We still believe in the value model. Even as we continue to evolve it, we think there's some distinct differences between the value model and one that you might term as volume or broadline. So when you talk about pick, pack, and ship, yeah, we did that, and to some degree we still do that, but the value we now offer our partners is much more intimate and much more evolved than it was, say, 5 or 10 years ago.
So let's talk about that. First of all, where do you think it's going to be? Like in this cloud world, what do you think is going to be king?
In terms of the way the channel benefits from it?
Yeah.
Well, I certainly think that there will be a preference in the broader customer marketplace for private cloud in advance of public cloud. But obviously, the people that can bring the right services to the right customer to solve the right problems at the right time, they're going to distinguish themselves. partners, can't simply focus on, hardware and speeds and feeds and bits and bytes. They got to be able to recognize that end users are looking to kind of optimize the combination of their own assets versus those of a third party. And that's where we think we fit. Just as we've enabled partners in the past to become specialists around Sun platforms or IBM platforms, there's no reason we can't enable them through our services investments to become better at and specialized in deploying cloud services on behalf of their customers.
So you think it's going to come back, it's moving even more away from product than it ever has been, and more into solutions?
I think there's always going to be a role for product. I think the notion that, we won't still help partners sell technology-based solutions directly to end users is certainly a pretty extreme view of what the uptake of the cloud will look like. I think there'll be a variety of people that win in the uptake of this cloud and the cloud computing market space, and I think there will still continue to be a lot of solution providers and resellers who benefit from selling fully enabled technology solutions to their customers. Whether or not that involves the cloud, I think certainly the cloud will not overtake all the demand that we see today.
Yeah, so where do you see things like apps coming
In what sense, Robert?
in? Do you think that's something that, like, is a VAR going to have to become more of a specialist and understand the industry and sell them specific apps that go along with the solutions?
Certainly as customers look to leverage more and more of the cloud, I think it's going to be incumbent on the solution providers to have higher levels of vertical and application expertise, because that's where the problem-solving conversation will emanate from. But I also think that their knowledge of infrastructure and the data center in the general, that will still be relevant. Again, whether or not the customer is pursuing a cloud strategy or not. Most customers today are pursuing cloud strategies in some form, if nothing else but to assess their readiness for the cloud and where they have opportunities to leverage virtual capacity more than they have in the past.
So you're not a believer of that the cloud's going to be everything to everybody?
I'm not quite a believer in that, no. I think the cloud will take many forms, and I think it will solve some problems, but not all of them. And I think we'll see this thing evolve incrementally. Clearly, I think it's for real, as you may have heard me mention earlier, but I think we're going to see this thing play out in steps. And I think we're in the early phases or the early chapters of that book.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the cloud looks like in 5 years.
It certainly will.
Because it won't be anything that you think it is going to be or me.
Probably not.
It'll just be, and you're right, in my opinion anyways, every time we hear some great new thing coming into the industry, and it is, like managed services, for example, that was supposed to be all and end all, and going to save everything. Well, it's just one piece.
It's just one piece, and I think, as I talked earlier, I think, maybe 10 years ago, this thing was very premature, and a lot of people thought if we build it, they will come, but nobody really came. Now I think there is enough evidence to suggest that it is for real, and that there are, cloud-based services providers that are having success. There's customers that are deploying these solutions because they favor OpEx over CapEx, and there's partners that are learning how to leverage them. And our goal will be to continue to aggregate the appropriate services and continue to help, hopefully, a larger population of partners leverage them for the benefit of their customers.
So you talked about services. Let's go back to that for a minute. So where, on the services, obviously you're going to be offering services to the VARs, and the VARs are going to be offering services to their customers.
Yes.
Where do you gain on that, and where's the gain for the channel?
Well, again, if you think about our role as a value-added distributor, we want to enable the growth and the success and the health of our partners. And because we think services is and should be a big part of their future, it's a way for them to grow their business beyond the bits and bytes, and it's a way for them to, I think, retain margin, if not expand their margins. So we can help grow their businesses by investments in services that they can basically take advantage of, be they implementation, post-sale, or customer ed. We think that's a value add, and it's a different value than one we would have added or provided, say, just 2-3 years ago.
Sure, and they get to benefit because you could buy it or produce it in quantity and put it out into different pieces for them.
It's exactly right. Again, there's a lot of partners that really don't have the size or scale to be able to build, a complete virtual bench, consisting of all the skill sets and expertise they'll need to go service their customers. So if they can tap into ours, for spot purposes or to augment what they're doing, we think that's a unique value, and our partners will benefit from it.
So staying with this and being a major distributor in well, I guess in the world now, for both Oracle and for Sun, well, or for what was Sun, on the services side. What's the upside for that for your partners?
Well, again, investments in services. When you think about software, software tends to be in part application facing. Things that are application facing tend to be services led. So if we can help our partners with either the pre-sale expertise necessary to, sort of mine a middleware or an application campaign, and or if we can offer the services that would help them deploy that offering, we've made that partner more compelling and I think more unique in the eyes of their customer.
I would agree. So now let's talk about the company itself. To me, whenever I think of Arrow, I think of enterprise. But from what I'm understanding, you're moving more down into the mid-market?
Well, I wouldn't say we're moving...
Sorry, you're adding into the mid-market.
Well said. I think that's a better characterization. I think, we're going to continue to be formidable in the data center, helping our partners continue to succeed in the data center in the large enterprise space. But in addition, we know that there are significant growth opportunities in the mid-market, and we want to continue to invest in the methodology, the tools, the data analytics, and frankly the solutions that will help them go mine those opportunities and give them another avenue for growth that maybe they didn't focus on in the past when life was different.